It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Time for another cup of coffee with Wild Will and Uncle Chris from Slumberland at the lake. And Uncle C, we got a great show this week.
As always, man, greatness. We've got some answers from the police on some of those murder things, a whole lot of high school and college basketball. Great stuff this week.
Yeah, right around the corner from March Madness. We're so excited about that. Plus Sunrise Beach, we told you they were going under contract. And there were a lot of concerns from citizens. We'll update you there. Plus, potential TIF approved or accepted from the city of Osage Beach. Man, what an action-packed show. Plus, Thatcher Waymire from Real Deal Fishing Guides joins us on the show to talk about his snagging tournament coming up next weekend. That and a whole lot more. But first, Daryl Cunningham from Slumberland at the lake.
Hey everybody, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. We've transitioned to our spring spruce up sale, so come in, save lots of money for new spring ideas. Come check us out at Slumberland Furniture at the Lake, where we're bringing happy home.
All righty. Thanks for that, Daryl. Appreciate you as always. Make sure you get down to Slumberland at the lake and visit our friends. All right, our first local story, Uncle C. We told you last week that Sunrise Beach, the village of Sunrise Beach, looked to be buying a new building potentially, and there were some concerns from the locals.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it. They were talking about buying like a $600,000 building with a loan. Obviously, it's going to be more with interest. Can you afford that? I mean, that was our big question. I mean, if you're struggling right now, how can you afford that, right?
Right.
And you did a lot of legwork looking into that.
And had some great assistance. I'm telling you what, the lake has so many intelligent, diligent individuals who get involved with nothing to gain. And luckily, we've had a handful in this instance. Like you said, we told you last week about that. And I mentioned that the Village of Sunrise Beach Board of Trustees, they actually also serve on the Municipal Development Corporation, and they put in a full offer of $645,000 on the old Summit Natural Gas building in Sunrise Beach. Some of the concerns that were brought to our attention, Chris, were, like you said, can the city afford a new building, let alone a $650,000 building that needs a roof replaced and a projected $300,000 in renovations? Another concern was, is a new city hall the most pressing of issues currently facing the village of Sunrise Beach? Another question, why was there not more information or notice given to the public in regards to the purchasing of a new building? Why was the process rushed? And why was the full list price offered?
Yeah.
The other question, was there a potential conflict of interest with either the buyer or seller's agent having ties to or potentially even sitting on the Sunrise Beach Board of Trustees? Well, regardless of those concerns and how accurate they were, after an offer was officially submitted to purchase the old Summit Natural Gas building for $645,000, and come to find out, Chris, the initial $645,000 list price came with a $90,000 roof allowance, but the official offer submitted to the seller's agent by that Sunrise Beach Municipal Development Corporation was not only the full $645,000, but they got the roof allowance lowered to $50,000, which made no sense. So how is that for good representation on behalf of the citizens? Hey, citizens of the village of Sunrise Beach, not only do we put in a full offer on a new building that we may or may not need and may or may not be overpriced, but we got our allowance for the roof cut in half, and we really didn't tell you guys about it. So how is that for being heard by and representing the people? Now, there is good news, Chris. It appears we do have some strong and intelligent individuals involved. One worth noting is Steve Barthel, who is about to finish up his first year as trustee for Sunrise Beach, and he's really been the lone vocal member on the board who's been opposed to the new building, asked questions, thought it was overpriced, and ultimately thought there was a lack of information and transparency with the citizens. His voice ultimately caused citizens like Ron Yarbrough, Stephanie Crable to get involved, and I think the point there's been enough public opinion ended up leading to good news. After last week's meeting at City Hall, a mutual release was executed. So as of right now, the Village of Sunrise Beach is not on the hook for the $645,000 building. However, it does open up the question of, wait, if all this is true, does the Village of Sunrise Beach have the right elected officials for the people? The people of Sunrise Beach, that is. Whereas I don't want to be the one to answer that question for everybody, I encourage you all to look into some of this, ask those questions to City of Sunrise Beach officials, attend the trustee meetings, and for those of you 180 some voters inside the village, get ready to vote on Tuesday, April 4th, because if things stay the same, I would guess that probably wouldn't be the last potentially dangerous and risky fiscal decision made for the people of Sunrise Beach by the elected officials of the Village of Sunrise Beach. So very important election on April 4th, but good work by people who got involved because there was enough of a fuss. That rush process ended up leading to a mutual release, and they're not under contract.
Right. And I think with that kind of a deal that might have happened unless somebody kind of stepped up and said, hey, wait a minute, the people involved wouldn't have gotten in trouble. They're not the ones that would have gone bankrupt. Probably would have been the Village of Sunrise Beach, right?
Absolutely.
Right, yeah. So, it's a good thing I got stepped in. What is on the ballot April 4th? Do you have any idea?
So there are 5 Board of Trustee members, including the chairperson, Debbie Stoller. She's been there 18 years. 2 of those seats are in their first year of a 2-year term, so those are not up for re-election. There are 3 seats open, including the chairperson's, Debbie Stoller. Now, after this election, regardless of if Debbie Stoller is re-elected, it would then be on the Board of Trustee 5 members, including herself or whoever won, to vote on who the chairperson is. Now, the Village of Sunrise Beach does not have a mayor. This chairperson serves as the mayor, and according to the budget, this chairperson actually gets a $15,000 stipend a year, which I believe might be the most money paid salary stipend given to any mayor or chairperson for any of our local municipalities. And so that's the process there. 3 of those seats are up for Sunrise Beach, and I think that's the concern is, man, with the way some of these elected officials are maybe not doing anything inherently wrong, but they're not necessarily doing it right. And so when you enter an agreement like that for whatever reason, we laid out those reasons on why that seems to be fiscally irresponsible. I would begin to believe that this wouldn't be the last time that happened, and it probably wasn't the first over the last however many years that a deal like this has probably happened.
Well, and right and wrong, in today's world, right and wrong has gotten really into a gray area. There's no more black and white, this is right, that's wrong. But in a situation like that, if you bankrupt the village by going out and buying a building you can't afford, that's wrong, right?
And here's,
in my opinion.
And here's what's weird, Chris, is it's illegal for a city to enter a financial agreement and purchase something, and there being a contract that would put the city futuristically on the hook.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to have this municipal development corporation, because they actually take the banknote, then they lease to the city, and that's the way it's set up for the current city hall. However, here's the problem with that. Set up by big government so they can keep control. At the end of each year, should the city of Sunrise Beach or the Village of Sunrise Beach say we no longer want to lease this building, they can walk away with no problem, no slap on the wrist, no reprimand, no cause or no effect by that. Then the municipal corporation, they would be on the hook for that and essentially have to file bankruptcy. And then the county or the state would come in and essentially, potentially do away with the Village of Sunrise Beach. So very important things that are taking place. And again, we commend some of the individuals who got involved, and we'll keep you posted. But more than anything, April 4th, not just in Sunrise Beach, but all of the local elections.
Yeah.
Make sure you know your precinct, make sure you know you're registered, and get out and vote.
Missouri voting is so weird with April elections, and then they've got like summer elections, and then of course you got the November fall elections. It's kind of hard to keep up with it all, and we will try to help make sure you know what's coming up election-wise, like April 4th, but it's hard to keep track of all that.
And we're waiting to hear back from the Lake Area Chamber of Commerce. We're working on partnering on a forum on Thursday, I think March 25th was the date we were looking at. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to move forward with that, but we will have some coverage leading into the election, whether that's just running through the candidates and what's on the ballot, but Uncle Chris and I will certainly bring more, and also more to this Sunrise Beach story as we find out more.
Yeah, I just want to say, too, how good looking you are today, how well dressed you are. You remind me of Mickey Rourke in,
I'll take it.
Like he's an old movie star, but he was like Mr. Sexy Dude. You're kind of like Mickey Rourke today, man.
I'll take it. I appreciate you
How
saying
about
that.
I'm even seeing some chest here there.
That's not by design. I didn't know I had them, and it was late in the process when I realized Unique's like, look, you got chest hair. And I'm like, not purposely. I would have
Have you ever seen
her.
the movie Wild Orchid with Mickey Rourke? Go look at it. I mean, that's who you remind me of today is Mr. Sexy. Right over here.
I'll take it.
Wild Will, man.
I love it. I got a birthday dinner with the family tonight. We're going out, and I figure with the show and hitting the town, we better look a little.
And the bling you got there, wow.
That's special. Unique
special,
got that for me.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to run out of time if we're not careful. We do that every single week. We told you about the suspicious death in Camdenton as 62-year-old Thomas Gifford was found dead on February 16th, and they said it was suspicious. They sent off for an autopsy. The autopsy came back and, hey, this was a homicide.
Yeah.
Well, according to the press release, a woman has been charged with murder in the case. Detectives from Camden County Sheriff's Office coordinated with several other agencies in the state to locate and arrest 39-year-old Chrisma Doxa Ellis, and she's known to frequent the area. Detectives identified Ellis as a person of interest early on in the investigation. They had to go to Kansas City, according to the press release late last week, to take her into custody. She was booked at the Camden County Detention Facility on the 23rd and related auto theft charges while the investigation into the homicide continued. She was charged with a Class A felony of murder in the first degree, felony armed criminal action, and the Class D felony of tampering with a motor vehicle in the first degree, and she's being held without bond. Now, when authorities requested that autopsy for Gifford after finding his body, and despite determining it was a homicide, they said they're still investigating the exact cause of death following the autopsy, which is weird to me that they said she's been charged with a Class A felony of murder in the first degree, felony armed criminal action, and Class D felony of tampering with a motor vehicle in the first degree. With that third, I believe, was from a previous situation, but they're still investigating the exact cause of death. Seems strange they could charge with a level of first-degree murder.
Yeah, you would think they'd know how that murder was committed, what happened, but apparently they're still working that out. But they're not giving us all the details. I mean, because you've been talking to them every week about this. They didn't really tell us that they had booked her and arrested her February 23rd on other charges, but they kind of knew she was involved in the murder. They were just tying up those strings. We find that out now, and I guess that's probably smart of them not to release all the information, but seems like they've got a pretty good handle of what's going on there.
And sometimes when you suspect a crime and you don't have the evidence to build the case, well, there's other things maybe that we know she's dangerous. So look, we've got this and this. We can go ahead and go get her.
Yeah.
And that's worth holding her for because that's illegal. And in the meantime, we're hoping to gain enough evidence and build a case against her where we could prosecute her. And that's really savvy police work. That's pretty common, I believe, in investigation processes with local police departments and stuff like that. So there's two local stories. We're going to take a break from local headlines as we welcome our good buddy Thatcher Waymire. And listen, Saturday, March 18th, the first annual Lake of the Ozarks Spoonbill Tournament presented by Real Deal Fishing Guides. To tell us more, Thatcher Waymire will be here right after this.
Pour yourself a cold one and join us for an hour filled to the brim with fun.
It hurts in my ears right now.
Entertainment.
Cheeky, bang, bang.
Information.
It's the water and a washcloth.
And a little weirdness.
Can I be a duck? Yeah, I don't think they want me to be a duck.
It's Happy Hour with DJ Kyle, presented by SRG Financial Advisors.
All right, and as promised, as we welcome you back, we got Thatcher Waymire, who, man, you might be the busiest man at the lake between Waymire Fencing, Real Deal Fishing Guides, and of course this huge upcoming spoonbill tournament we're going to talk about. How'd you make time to swing by today?
You know, we're almost a week away from the big tournament, so I made time to come by and see you today. So glad to be here, Will.
And we're super excited because we've been promoting this now for about 3 months, and this is the second time you've been on Cup of Coffee, and believe it or not, we're about a week away. Next weekend is the official snagging tournament. So tell us a little bit about the first annual Spoonbill Snagging Tournament presented by Real Deal Fishing Guides.
March 18th, Saturday, March 18th, at Wigwam Public School Access. It's a 65-mile marker by water. It's a really nice, big conservation parking lot. It's the first Saturday of opening weekend of snagging season. It opens the 15th, but this will be the first weekend, so hopefully we have a good turnout.
Now, one thing you've told me is that one of the things that differentiates spoonbill from all the other fish at the Lake of the Ozarks is the season for them is pretty small, and so this tournament takes place. So talk about spoonbill and how that fish is so much different than crappie, bass, catfish, all the others.
Yeah, it's a season. It opens March 15th and then runs to April 30th, and you know, that people come from all over the country, out of state, to come here and fish for these big spoonbill. You know, the state record's like 144 pounds. The biggest one that we caught last year was a 128 pounder, and it was a fish. Now, any fish over 100 pounds is big, and it's like deer season, you know. So a lot of people show up for this time, and we've put a lot of thought into this tournament, and you know, our rules and how we're going to run it different than a lot of tournaments being run now. Like this first tournament, we're not going to allow any forward-facing sonar. It's like, you know, you can see the fish, and we're putting it back to where it's old school for the kids, the good old boy kind of per se, you know, to get them back into fishing and have a fun event, a family-oriented event.
For a guy like me, who's not real versed in the fishing world, when you say forward-facing sonar, what is that in relation to backward-facing sonar?
Well, forward-facing sonar is on your trolling motor on a pole, and you're looking out in front of the boat, and I mean, like, you can tell what fish it is, what species, and kind of how big it is. So we're having, you know, the big fish tournament, spoonbill, the biggest fish, you know, and like a lot of them guys now, they can tell, well, that's an 80-pounder, that's a 60-pounder, you know, so we're taking that away. We will have polygraph test, keep everybody, you know, fair. No rope marks on the fish until it is officially weighed in. Once you weigh it in, you can tie it off and do whatever you need to do. But if you catch a big one, just run it to the weigh-in, and we'll have a 34-foot pontoon boat sitting out there, and it'll be like a McDonald's drive-through weigh-in, so that, you know, you don't have to pack an 80-pound fish up a flight of stairs or park your boat or get into all that. Just pull in. We'll have enough staff and everybody, and it'll flow good. So
when you talk about Thatcher, that you got polygraph, that element involved, it would appear that this is pretty serious and potentially some serious prizes or cash on the line. You keep talking about big fish. So what is the grand prize of the big fish prize this year?
First place, we're guaranteeing $10,000 to first place. Second place will be, you know, we all the numbers haven't come in, and how many boats will also determine. First, second, and third will be paid overall, and then every 2 hours we have a 4 2-hour time slots, so everybody has a chance to win in those time slots. Your big fish down, kind of like the Bass Bash, where, you know, we're given a chance for way more payouts, so everybody will have an opportunity to take home some money.
And I know that being so close to the event, you're starting to see registrations trickle in, but how much does it cost to register? And if they're watching this interview, how does that process work?
So you can go to lakeozarkfishing.com and register, it's $100 per person, and everybody in the boat must be registered and a paid participant. It just keeps it easier on my staff and me, and everybody in the boat. If you're in the tournament, you have to be a paid participant, even if you're just driving the boat. You know, if you guys win 10 grand, then the people in the boat can, you know, they can make that right in themselves. So
figure that out amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
But one thing, if they're just watching, because I know now we're about a week away, but let's say they're watching the night before, even Thursday or Friday, right before, you could still sign up the morning of Saturday, correct?
Yes, and if you are pre-registered, you know, some of these people won't have great big boats. They'll be in, you know, a 25-horse, 14-foot John boat. So if you register, you can put in anywhere on Lake of the Ozarks. We're not having a blast off. You know, if we have a lot of people and we have a blast off and all these different criteria boats, well, that kind of gets dangerous. So we took that out of the picture, and that's the reason that we're not having a blast off, is that allows all the people to be able to put their boat in anywhere they want. If they catch a fish, then you must come up and weigh it in at Wigwam Access, and that'll help everybody. And if you're not registered, you can register at the ramp the morning of. And at the ramp, with service and everything, it's a cash only at the boat ramp. So just keep that in mind, that self-service on the lake is spotty where we're having this.
So if you want to pay with a card, you need to get pre-registered at lakeozarkfishing.com. And the cool thing is, this is the first year of this tournament.
Yes.
And the results are looking crazy as far as numbers, and this is going to be an annual event. So hey, if you're not able to get signed up this year and you want to get plugged in with Thatcher, go to Real Deal Fishing Guides on Facebook and shoot him a message, because he'd love to have more people involved. Man, it's hard to believe this upcoming weekend, the 18th, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, there's been a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of phone calls. And if anybody has any questions, I know I'm busy. I'll get to a text message a lot faster. Just be patient, and hope to see you all there.
Awesome, and we'll put his number right there on screen for you. That's Thatcher Waymire with Real Deal Fishing Guides. Don't miss out on the lake's first annual spoonbill snagging tournament, March 18th. Thatcher, thanks for your time, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Appreciate it, buddy. We'll be right back on Cup of Coffee after this.
You have to join us for Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show this week. It's brought to you by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center. As it just so happens, we've got some great folks from COMC with us this week. It's Dr. Mario Macias, it's Nurse Catherine Keeler, and we're talking about women's health. There is so much to talk about in that area, so be sure to join us for the Lake TV Community Spotlight Show.
Man, your guy's so cool. It makes me want to go out and fish in that next Saturday.
I mean, he is so impressive. I love that guy. I mean, successful business and fencing and all that. And this fishing thing is just blowing up. It is just going big time. It's got a huge future.
And he's a professional angler. Like, you know, he fishes professionally. He's got the guide service, his fencing business. He's a young guy, local, graduated from Stover. But, you know, we get to see young men and women from our lake community doing things of that magnitude. And Thatcher Waymire, he's a mover and a shaker. And make sure you check them out at lakeozarkfishing.com. All right, so as we get back to local headlines, the Point Oasis amusement park development, been big news, kind of in the waiting game. Well, we officially have an update in that.
Here it comes, man. You know, this is that big amusement park right beside Grand Glaze Bridge there in Osage Beach. So the major entertainment district proposed to be built there is going to cost about $300 million, we are told. That will go before a TIF commission, all right, to be considered for increment financing. The city of Osage Beach sent out a press release on that. So at the March 2nd, 2023 meeting, Osage Beach Board of Aldermen resolution was approved referring the proposed Oasis at Lakeport tax increment financing, that's the TIF. So the city staff, legal and financial consultants, they've reviewed the project, the application plan documents, recommend to the Osage Beach Board of Aldermen the project's readiness for this TIF consideration. So 2 TIF meetings are scheduled, okay? One on Monday, March 27th, 6 o'clock, City Hall. You can be there if you want, I think. TIF commissioners will be presented an overview of the whole TIF process and their role as TIF commissioners. Then on Monday, April 17th at 6 at City Hall, TIF Commission will hold a public hearing. Here's where you can show up, I think, and hear future testimony from the project applicant. City representatives will consider what's going on out there, where the TIF money is going to go to, how that all works. And again, this is $300 million we're talking about to put that whole thing together out there. So it's big money, probably, a big return in the future, but it's good to do these things wisely and make sure you're doing it right and not putting the city in a bad place.
And I can tell you, we've been all over this, and the city of Osage Beach has been incredibly diligent. They waited for the developers to present that TIF proposal with the redevelopment plan of action, and they then presented that, and now the city has seen that from the Board of Aldermen to the city administration to the TIF Commission. They now have recommended that the Board of Aldermen would accept that, like you said. Those two meetings both open to the public. This is why I love it. A lot of people hear TIF, they get like, oh no, a TIF, this can't be good.
Right, yeah.
Some instances it very well may be, and for you to understand what a TIF is, as well as what our TIF commissioners are responsible for doing, the city of Osage Beach is holding that Monday, March 27th meeting. That's one you can also attend, and I highly encourage you to go to. A lot will be learned. Everything is going to be laid out. The city is being so transparent with this, and then that other meeting on April 17th. Now, project documents and other information is available for you at www.osagebeach.org. But this is great. However you feel about a TIF, whether you think this shouldn't happen or it should happen, the way the city's doing it is giving you an opportunity to say that, to share that, and to learn the exact details of this. So really, I gotta say, the city of Osage Beach, man, you say it a lot. I mean, they're on it. They really are on it.
I think, and they've been, if they've been erring at all, they've been erring on the side of caution, which is smart because you don't want to put the city in a bad position. Same thing going on with that mall project. They're being very careful about that. Eventually something will happen there, and it won't be bad because they're going at it the right way. At least that's the way it looks like to us.
And Mayor Harmison, he's all over it. He talks with Simon on a weekly basis. He says, listen, as soon as that goes under contract, which he thinks is going to happen, he says, you guys will all be the first to know about it, but that is no way, shape, or form that project's not dead. I saw some comments on this news break that said, oh, well, you guys already botched the outlet mall, now here we go with this. And it's like, well, just be informed, people.
Right.
Okay, please be informed. That information is now easier to find. It's out there.
Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's been botched.
Right.
In fact, that might have saved the city from being botched.
It did indeed save the city. So real quick, Lake Area High School basketball update. We had a couple teams still alive. Versailles boys, they lost in overtime in the district championship game Friday against Springfield Catholic. Really good season for Josh Walters in his first year. And the fact that Reese Murdoch and Ryder Williams are both just sophomores and will return, I mean, that program is going to be scary for a while. And Max Creek girls, you saw what happened to them.
Oh, man, they made it to the state quarterfinal round, losing by 1 point, or they would have gone to the state Final Four. The Max Creek girls, something special, and pretty much that whole team was sophomores.
No, that whole team will be back.
Yeah.
No seniors on that roster.
For the next 2 years, more than likely. So.
Unbelievable. You talk about dynasty in the making, make it to the Elite Eight this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone comes back for the next 2 years. Yeah. Pretty cool to see what happens with them. And of course, Tipton, that's our lone team that we kind of talked about. The girls are in the Final Four Friday. They're looking to punch their ticket to the state championship game. They got Norwood, who's lost 4 games. Tipton's only lost 1, so good luck to Jason Culpepper and the Tipton Lady Cardinals. Hey, don't forget, this weekend, the St. Patty's Day Water Parade and Short Bus Shuffle. It's going to be a full day Saturday on the west side, and of course, next Saturday, the parade and that fishing tournament. Lots more going on Lake TV. We're going to run out of time to tell you about it. One thing I wanted to mention, great guest on your Spotlight show this week. You got Dr. Mario Macias and RN Catherine Keeler, doing great things, aren't
Yeah,
they?
COMC, a big part of keeping our community healthy. And these two folks are dealing with women's health. So we talk specifically about women's health on the Spotlight Show, so join us.
Don't miss it. That's going to do it for this week's Cup of Coffee from Slumberland at the Lake.